Chapter 8. Now as touching things offered unto idols, we know that we all have knowledge. Knowledge puffeth up, but charity edifieth. And if any man think he knoweth anything, he knoweth nothing yet as he ought to know. But if any man love God, the same is known of him. As concerning therefore the eating of those things that are offered in sacrifice unto idols, we know that an idol is nothing in the world, and that there is none other God but one. For though there be that are called gods, whether in heaven or on earth, as there be gods many and lords many, but to us there is but one God, the Father, of whom are all things, and we in him, and one Lord Jesus Christ, by whom are all things, and we by him. Howbeit, there is not in every man that knowledge. For some with conscience of the idol unto this hour eat it as a thing offered unto an idol, and their conscience being weak is defiled. But meat commendeth us not to God. For neither if we eat are we the better, neither if we eat not are we the worse. But take heed lest by any means this liberty of yours becomes a stumbling block to them that are weak. For if any man see thee, which hast knowledge, sit at meat in the idol's temple, shall not the conscience of him that is weak be emboldened to eat those things which are offered to idols? And though thy knowledge shall be the weak brother, and through thy knowledge shall the weak brother perish, for whom Christ died. But when ye sin so against the brethren, and wound their weak conscience, ye sin against Christ. Wherefore, if meat make thy brother to offend, I will eat no flesh, while the world standeth, lest I make my brother to offend. I get the impression as we go through these verses in Corinthians that somebody sent Paul a long list of highly unlikely questions in some cases, and that these people were having some considerable difficulty in translating the teachings they had received into how do they act in daily life. Just like the Jews did, in that, how far can we travel on the Sabbath day? I mean, if we walk through a field and we trample on and one grain falls out of a head of grain and goes into the ground, did we plant it? Did we work on the Sabbath day? Did we violate a commandment? These kinds of things. And Paul's trying to lift their view to understanding things, and it's challenging to him. Take a look here, verse 4. As concerning therefore the eating of those things that are offered in sacrifice unto idols. So this was a question they had. What do we do? So if somebody's offered something to idols and they want to share with us, what do we do? And he says, we know that an idol is nothing in the world. An idol is simply a lump of metal or rock or wood or whatever. There is none other God but one. We know that. They can call him anything they want. But unto us, in verse 6, there is but one God, the Father. Okay? But, verse 8, meat commendeth us not to God. Meat doesn't make us closer. Whether any kind of food, any kind of meat, doesn't make us closer to God. For neither if we eat it, are we any better, are we any more spiritual, are we any more godlike, and neither if we eat it not, are we any worse. It doesn't make any difference to us. Our closeness to God is not affected by whether or not we eat or don't eat this food that had been offered as a sacrifice to God, an idol. But in verse 9, he makes a point here, and a lot depends on this point. Because most of these foods that would have been offered to idols would have been served in temples to these false gods. And so for you to have the meat, which you could have had free for showing up often, how would you feel if you're there in this heathen temple and somebody who is a new member of the Christian church, who sees you as somebody important in their church, sitting in a heathen temple eating some meat or food that had been offered to a heathen god? And here's what he says in verse 9. But take heed, lest by any means this liberty, this freedom for our you to do whatever you choose becomes a stumbling block to those that are weak. Be careful of the impression you give because of the choices you make. Verse 10, for if any man see thee which hath knowledge sitting at meat in the idol's temple, shall not the conscience of him which is weak be emboldened? In other words, aren't you more likely to encourage them to do what you're doing? And through thy knowledge shall the weak brother perish. Because he won't understand that you're not doing it to be part of that God worship. You're just doing it because it's free meat to eat. But when ye sin so against the brethren and wound their weak conscience, ye sin against Christ. And therefore, in verse 13, the overriding principle, wherefore, if meat make thy brother to offend. In other words, if a habit you have, some special knowledge or understanding you have, that you can do that doesn't affect you, causes your brother to offend or to be weakened or to do something he shouldn't do, Paul said, I will eat no flesh while the world standeth. I don't want to do anything that causes my brother to lose his salvation, to lose his exaltation because of something I did. Important for you to remember. Yes, it may be okay for you to do, but is it okay for everybody to see you do? You may not suffer any problem with it, but maybe you're going to cause a problem for other people. And if you are, it's best for you not to do it.